Hi, it's Jan Robberts here from Key Leadership Institute in South Africa. Now, I've had a few thinks in the last few days, and that's always interesting for me and for many other people, I suppose. But I've got a question. Have you ever actually watched a movie or heard a story or noticed a meme that for one way or another left a lasting impression on you? Probably a movie or a story, you might have but a meme. Well, that's actually what happened to me. See, I've recently saw a meme that I actually seen it for the second time, but this time it disturbed me even more than it had done already. And it has kept me thinking, intentionally about life and humanity and where we are heading. Now, in my opinion, we are heading headfirst into the worst time in our recent history, with our eyes wide shut, and while picking up speed on the way in a vehicle that's actually hell-bent on self-destruction. Might not make a lot of sense to you, but that's how I wanted to put it together, and that's what some of my thinks were. See, there seems to be no shortage whatsoever of money to spend on this disturbing global situation we are just finding ourselves in right now, and have been in for nearly 2 years now. And anything from millions on advertising to creating new departments, to providing an alleged remedy for all of this, costing absolutely billions in many countries around the world. And it is very interesting, but how does there never seem to be enough money to feed the hungry? Elon Musk actually was asked recently if he was willing to spend $6 billion of his money to stop hunger and poverty, at least hunger. And he asked the question, show me what it takes, what 6 billion will do. So he wasn't against it, but they need to at least show them something, because so much money has been wasted. But also, how come there never seems to be any money for decent pay structures for all those caring professionals such as nurses, caregivers, firefighters, first responders, and teachers? How is it even possible that way too many older people still die every winter because they had to choose between heating or food, as their meager pensions do not cover both? And I know there's not that many left, but many of them in recent years used to fight for our freedoms in the Second World War and other skirmishes after that. And look what it left them. And yes, that happens in towns, villages, and communities in our so-called first world countries, possibly in a home near you. There is something far wrong when we fight amongst ourselves about who's right and who's wrong, creating one of these demon asses. And yes, we create them. There is no such thing as a demon us. There is humanity. There is people. Well, encouraged by governments and media, this demon us stuff, with even more money spent on passports, creating an apartheid we should never ever again engage in. I'm here in South Africa just now, and there is still a lot of problems with that. But please tell me, how is any of this, or all of this, okay? Is it okay for you? What has happened to humanity? These are some of the things that are going through my head. And yes, there are a tiny percentage of people dying from the situation right now. And don't get me wrong, every life lost is tragic, as every person matters. But what about the millions of people who are dying and have died from cancer, from heart attacks, from strokes, from domestic violence, from suicide, and so many more things that because because of all these manipulative measurements taken to stop people who are also deserve treatment and respect to access doctors and hospitals. Is that acceptable to you? And what about the millions of children, our youth, our leaders of tomorrow, who are suffering from psychological damage that might negatively impact our entire next generation for years to come, if it ever comes right? What has become of our society at large? What have we become? What are our expectations moving forward out of this unbelievable mess? See, there are statistics that more than 250 million extra people are now plunging into extreme poverty, with many more millions to follow from this willful destruction of our economies. And I don't say that lightly. Is that okay to you? Is that acceptable to you? Is that the direction we should be heading in? Let's just ensure we are okay, and who cares about the rest? Is that really where we are heading? As long as it does not affect us personally or somebody close to us? Is that what we've become as humans? Then I think we should be taking a step back. In fact, we should be getting back to the basics of values, basic human values, because there is something very wrong with humanity. There is something very wrong if this is all okay to us. And if it's not okay to us and we do nothing. Les Brown said one time that evil prevails where good men and women do nothing. And I'll add to that. This is if you are not part of the solution, the right solution, then you are part of the problem. It is high time to stop the fighting, to stop the arguing, to stop separating ourselves, not just from those in our own families, but also from our friends, neighbors, and those stunning, beautiful souls in our community. And many, many are suffering. We need to get off our knees, unless we're praying, of course, but to stand up, to speak up, but at least to stand together. There has never been a more urgent time that we as the people need to come together than right now. It is indeed time. We need to all feed one. We need to all help one. And we need to all uplift one. We've all heard about be the change you want to see in the world. Well, be that one. Because let us move forward to make a real difference together. Put aside our differences. It doesn't matter. It never has mattered who is one thing, who is another, who thinks one thing or another. We're all human beings. And as Arthi, my wife, always says in her diversity and inclusion training, she says, at the level of respect, everyone is equal. And she always adds to that as well another quote she's got that says, there's good news. We don't really all need to like each other. But the way you show respect to the person in front of you is a direct reflection on your character, not theirs. So maybe we should show a bit more compassion. We should show a bit more kindness. We should show a little bit more for our fellow human beings, because it is indeed time. And that time is right now. What will you do? Will you keep complaining to your neighbors and everybody else who wants to hear it? As I always say, do you want to keep blamestorming? That it's everybody else's fault? We cannot do anything about everybody else, about the government, about the certifying authorities and all these kind of people that we don't like because we know that they're not telling us the truth. Are you telling the truth? What are you doing? What are we going to do as human beings looking back in the mirror every day? What are we going to do to make sure that this world becomes a better place? And the only way we can do, I can't change anybody else. I've got enough trouble to change this person in the mirror every day. But together, we can create some synergy. Together, when we do indeed get off our knees, when we do get up and stand up and do something, don't lie down. Our forefathers would have turned over in their graves if we know that there was no backbone left in society, that we just take everything for granted. But where we're going right now, if you can't agree with me that we're going in the right direction altogether, if you're happy to live in fear rather than be delighted that you can actually live, then I'm talking to the wrong person. But if I'm talking to the right person, I hope you like and share this. And let's get up together, people. Let's speak up. Let's be scared of what somebody else might think of us. That's their problem. Whatever somebody else thinks of you is none of your business. So don't make it any of your business. But when you go to bed at night, know that what came out of your mouth, that what you said, is something you deeply believe in. And we don't have to fight with each other. It's not about being right or wrong. It's trying to understand before being understood. And when we try that and be kind rather than be right, when we can put these things together, we can do wonderful things together. Let us all know. And I'm talking to you right now. The person, look at me right here in this camera. Let us all look at this and really, let's go back to values. Let's go and look in the mirror and see what we can do differently, because this is not the way to go further. I mean, we can't go on like this. We just cannot go on like this. There's people in your own families that are suffering. There's people in your friend circle. And we say, I've lost my best friends. I've got news for you. If you lost your best friend, they were never best friends in the first place, because I've got best friends for more than 40 years and we're still great friends. We don't agree on all things. And we have a disagreement on some of the things that happen now. But would I be scared about losing my best friends? Never. And neither would they. We stand by each other. That's what best friends do. So if you lost some people and you thought they were best friends, I've got good news for you. They were never best friends. Now you've got a chance to replace them with people who can become best friends. But we need to, whether you're best friends, whether you agree or disagree, I hope we all agree that we cannot live the rest of our lives like this in fear. We cannot live like this fighting with each other. We cannot live like this and create a two-tier system where it's not a yellow star. But I mean, as I say, here in South Africa just now, apartheid is not that far gone. And there is still a lot of suffering because of it. We don't want to go on in years to come and say, okay, we got this wrong. We should never have done this in the first place, because it creeps in slowly and we are allowing this. I'm also, I live in Scotland as well. And what happened to, and send them home again to think again, send them homewards to think again. That stood and died for, all those kind of things. Where is all of that? Where is all that backbone that fought in wars, that won world wars? Have our grandparents taken that with them to the grave? We don't need to be fighting, but we need to stand strong and stand together. Because if we're going to make a difference, as I said, it is time. That time is now. What are you going to do? What can we do together to make a real difference? Don't think about tomorrow. No, lad, let's start now. Let's start today. Like and share this, and I hope to see you soon. I'll be back. Don't worry. I've got plenty more to say. But this is something that was lying heavy on me. I lost sleep on this because there is so many things that are going wrong right now. We need to make it right. We can only do that together. Let's get together. It is time. See you soon. Take care.